Hello. You have a question? Sure. What's your question? Okay. That's a good one. My friend Paula here is asking why it's so hard for her to focus on the whole horse while she's learning equine body language. Well, Paula, let me tell you, you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard. What's happening is that your horse is telling you, talking to you all the time. All the time. And you are conveying information back all the time as well. So, I don't want you worrying about what you're conveying back, because what your body language is telling your horse is the truth. Stop thinking about it. Now, when you're paying attention to a horse for their body language, there's a lot of layers that go into that. It's a very good question. It can be very difficult. When you spend enough time with them on a regular basis, like if you're stall cleaning, if you're feeding, if you're just hanging out with your own horse or a leased horse or your lesson horse, you want to be able to be calm. Your calmness will let you absorb what they're telling you. Now, it's very easy to tell when a horse is scared. Their eyes will get big, their face will get tight, they will be looking around, they'll be dancing. Jigging is a common word for the kind of bounciness. The more subtle stuff that you mentioned in your letter can be a little bit more difficult, but then that gets to a deeper level of communication with our horse. So your deep level of communication will come from time spent with them and your ease with them. When you become at ease, you can pick up a lot. For example, I was riding my big mare, Lucy is her name, and I was feeling her getting tight, and then she looked back at me with kind of a devilish look in her eye, and then I just kind of giggled, and I was thinking, what's on your mind, sis? What you gonna try and pull? Because she's Lucy. So I'm riding her, I feel her get tight, she looks back at me, ears were kind of flat back and the tips were up just a little bit and angled in just so, and the look on the side of her, out of the side of her eye, was kind of like, let me see what I can do. And I was like, bring it. So she bucked, and we're talking like she's half Frisian, so half draft buck, and at the time she was extremely fit and very bulky and very big, and I was like, I knew that's what she was gonna do. For one, I've ridden that before, I've seen that before, I've felt that before, so I was not concerned because I know she's too big to buck, like seriously, and no horse has gotten me off yet. So I let her do it, and then I looked at her and she's all tight and has this look on her face like, what are you gonna do about it? So I did nothing. I patted her on the neck and I said, are you through? And she was all tight and waiting and holding her breath real tight and hard, and it was all just kind of like bracing because she was expecting me to blow up on her. So I knew she was expecting me to blow up on her because I've been around them for so long and I've seen that before. With that instance, I patted her on her neck and I said, are you through? And she looks back and she kind of had this look of like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get mad. And then I'm like, carry on, and asked her to go again, and we went along for a while and we repeated this 3 times. And it bothered her a very great deal because I did not blow up on her. I threw her for a loop. I gave her what she was not expecting. And for her, at that moment in time, we were building our relationship. She wanted to see what I would do, just like a little naughty kid. So I wrote it out, and it was not, I have it on video actually, it was not a very big buck, but she thought it was, and that's fine. So, after that couple rounds of that and the other 2 times of doing that, she was very disconcerted, and I put her in her stall and I patted her on her shoulder and I said, nice try, but I do not have it in me to do that to you, so you can do it again. Pat, 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 and the same thing is going to happen. So again, she tried it a couple other times while we were riding, and then she just decided that I was not going to blow up on her. And then she felt better about the world and her world and everything else. So we have a really good relationship now. But it does, sometimes they'll do that just to see what you've got in you and what you're going to do about it and what they're willing to take. But as far as focusing on the whole horse, you can, but it happens on different levels. So you've got your visual level where you're trying to figure out by me seeing Lucy's eyes and her ears. You've got the physical feel. So I felt her get tight. I felt it coming before. And as she's getting tight, she's changing the look on her face. And I was riding her and I can see enough of her face that I know what's happening in her head. Horses are really good at being bad at being sneaky. So, and the longer you spend with them and the intensity of time that you spend with them, you'll get it. You'll get what that means eventually, I promise. So the next level is there's a feel that you get when you sit a horse that's it's a little different than the feel that you get when you're beside them working on the ground. And then it's like nothing else. It's like nothing else. So if I'm standing out and I'm looking at a field of horses, I get a general feel of the entire herd. And it's no different than walking into a room where somebody was fighting. And then you kind of go, whoa, bye, and leave, because it feels uncomfortable. And then if you're in a crowd, like people who go to concerts, if you're in that kind of crowd, there's a lot of people. If I'm looking over a field of horses, it's the same as being kind of at a concert. Well, at a concert, you can tell when things are going to go bad. You just get the vibe that it's time to go. Or stay, if you're that kind of person. But when you're looking out at the field of the horses, you just you can sense if they're nervous, like if a storm is coming and it's a bad one. In the Midwest, we get a lot of those. So you can feel when the horses are like, oh, this isn't okay, we gotta go back, we want in the barn. So you can tell if they want in the barn. You can tell if they want to stay outside, even if it's a storm. You get that feeling after a while, but it's a feel, it's an overall view and everything else. But when talking about the feel aspect, I can be standing next to a horse and they're uncomfortable about getting into a trailer, let's say. And you can have 2 horses that have no problem, like off-track thoroughbreds normally do not have a problem getting into trailers. Especially if it's the right size trailer, they'll walk right in. You have a horse that's not so okay with that. You can feel them from the ground. They just feel intense, dancy, zizzy. My daughter calls it zizzy. You can feel the zizz off of them, and it's almost too much if they're scared. Or if they're nervous, and it's more like a scared nervous combo that it's just like, ugh, okay, let's go over here and calm down. So when you're training a horse, let's take that trailer horse, you don't want them to get to that level of zizz. You want them to be kind of like mildly zizzed, and then you walk away and you get to the calm space, and then you bring them back to the zizz, and then you bring them back out, and then you make sure that they get bored with that intensity level. And then you can get closer and closer and closer before you reach that, okay, this is as much zizz as I want this horse to experience right now. You don't want to take a horse that's calm and bring him into a high static, high zizz level. That's too much energy. That's too much feel. You want to keep it chill. and just enough to be annoying, and then away, and then enough to be annoying, and this is how you desensitize a horse. You just feel for that ziz level. So that's another thing. When you're on a horse, that's a whole different level of feel, and it's amazing. If you are somebody who has got a high level of sensitivity for empathy, like when you cry at the movies and that kind of, you feel at the movies. I'm not a crier, but I have a high empathy level. When I sit a horse who is calm, that calmness comes, it like, I don't know how to describe it, but it just kind of like spirals up into me, and I just kind of go, oh, yes, this is gonna be a good ride. If I am working with a new horse, and this is part of the reason why I have not ever been hurt by a horse catastrophically, I won't get on a horse that is zizzing. I will not. Ever. And some people call it gut. I call it what you like, wherever it fits into your nomenclature. When that horse is at a high ziz level, that's when they're going to freak out. That's when they're going to bolt. That's when they're going to panic. And a panic, that is the worst feeling to me in the world, is a bolting, panicking horse. I can't ride that. I won't tolerate that. I'll bail. I will bail before anything happens. Can't do it, won't do it. Can't, won't do. So my horse has to be at a mid to low ziz level on the ground for me to put myself on their body and trust that they're going to behave. First 3 rides on a new horse, don't care who they are, feels awful to me. It is like, please don't kill me today. And then I will sit them, and then after about the 3rd or 4th ride, I'm like, okay, you're not gonna, even a mid to low, even a no ziz horse, I'm still cautious on. I don't have that same don't kill me feeling on a low ziz horse as I do on a high ziz. I won't do high. Mid to up, nope, not getting on them. We'll do something else. There's plenty to do that doesn't involve somebody's neck getting broken. So, if I am sitting on a horse and there is a good feel, an open feel, a calm and a peaceful feel, I can feel that off the ground. And those are the horses that I will ride. And when I sit them, that connection, this is where you don't have to pay attention to all the things, all at the same time. You pick one to focus the most on. So you've got your emotional level, your visual level, and your feel level. So feel, physical feel, emotional feel is your ziz level, that kind of thing. And I'm using ziz as an example. There's all the different feelings you can have, but ziz is easy because it's a big feeling. So when you're working on all of those things, after a while your brain gets used to taking in information from here, and from here at the same time. So it's not like you have to focus on any one part. Whatever part needs the most attention will be obvious. It will come up like as soon as a horse starts zizzing, like if we're on a trail ride and there's deer off to the side, like you can feel it. So the horse gets, and even before the horse like looks, you can feel that ziz pop up, and then the horse is going to look. So we're looking at the exact same time, and we're looking at the exact same place, because I can feel it from the horse, and the horse is letting me know. So part of horse communication is nonverbal. They have that feel back and forth to each other. It's like when you're watching a field full of horses, and something happens, they all bolt at the same direction, they will all turn and go in the exact same direction, all at the exact same time. They're feeling each other. They're pros at this. They don't have language getting in the way, verbal language getting in the way. So they're feeling each other out. They're watching, they can see all the way around almost. So they're always keyed in on their friends and their buddies and the horses that they don't like. So when they're in that herd atmosphere, they're working on all 3 levels, but the one level is going to pop up. Same with us when we're riding. That one level is going to pop up. And that level is going to be the one that's going to be the most important. Like when I rode Lucy and she tried to buck, I felt her physically first. I visually looked at her and saw the sneaky look on her face. And then I just kind of like knew on that feel, the emotional level, I knew what she was going to do. But part of how I knew what she was going to do was how I felt her tense up. She tensed up, she leaned forward, and she kind of like was working on her spring. So when all of those things happen, it comes from, and the reason why I knew what she was up to also, this is really the biggest part. You spend the time with them that it takes to understand all of those things. And then having that quiet time where you can spend 24, in my barn, I was there 7 days a week, and usually 16 to 18 hours a day. For real. That's a lot of time to spend with 20 some odd horses. Those kinds of things, it just happens, but you cannot be focusing on the one thing. To even it out, to make it so you're not focusing on one particular thing, you have soft eyes. And what soft eyes mean is you're kind of like taking in everything at once. You are hearing, you are seeing, you are feeling, and you're just getting a general vibe of everything around you. So if you think of a big bubble, like you're in a big giant bubble, soft eyes, your bubble gets very big, and your perception softens and takes in all the things. Now, to bring it back, you have laser beam eyes. That's what I tell my kids. You laser beam eyeballs. Laser beam, you focus. And what you're doing now is you're focusing on all of the things all at once. Not possible. Stop. You're trying too hard. Soften. Feel. See. Take in all the information. That's what matters. When you're in a low key, a no ziz, low ziz atmosphere, take in all of the information. Here for the horses outside in the pasture. What is the horse 2 aisles down doing? What is the horse 7 stalls down doing in that stall? What's happening in the arena? What's happening in the outdoor arena? So if you can feel what's happening all around, and feel, I mean by feel, be soft and take in all the information. Soft. No focus on everything all at once, you just can't do it. Nobody can do it. But if you're soft, you can take in the important bits of what's happening where. So here's a story about that. I'm in the barn, and one of my boarders, horses, the horse, was outside in one of the pastures. I'm inside in the arena, and my barn was 2 aisles, indoor, pasture parking lot. So I'm in the arena, and he's out in that pasture. So through an aisleway, and then the pasture was out over there. Well, I hear him running at top speed, and I knew it was Charlie. I knew it was Charlie. So I'm like, stop what I'm doing. Hold on. I think I was giving a lesson at the time. I run outside, and I see him running, and he sees me, and he starts running right at me. And as he's running right at me, I noticed there is a fly felling him, and it was a big one because he was way far off, and I could see it. And then I started to hear it, and I jumped through the fence, and he comes at me full barrel, probably about 8 feet away from me. He sliding stopped, spun his butt, and then as soon as he spun his butt, I jumped up and smacked the fly, and it was one of those wolf flies, the ones that bite real hard and make them bleed and drink their blood. So I killed it, and he turns around and he looks at me all proud, like, you knew what I wanted. That was so cool. And then he just has this like happy feeling, and he's all perked up, and he's big wide-eyed, and he was kind of like, oh my God, you knew what I wanted. And so that happened again after that, like 5 or 6 more times. He would come run to sliding stop, spin his butt, smack and kill the bug, and it was over. He thought it was the funniest thing. So yes, horses have a sense of humor. When you spend enough time with them, from the ground up, those are the kinds of things that you get to learn. To come into being around horses without ego. That's a tough one for a lot of people. But if you come into them without ego and you allow them to teach you these things, and without ego, I mean, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to observe. It's okay to learn from a horse. It doesn't always have to be the most expensive trainer in town. It doesn't always have to be some other person. It doesn't always have to be not the horse. The horses have taught me more than any person I have ever taken lessons from or gone to clinics to or whatever. Being with the horses, picking a stall, learning what poop does. You can learn a lot about a horse by looking at their poo and their pee and where they're putting it in their stall. By coming at it as I feed horses. I have done all of these jobs. I have cleaned stalls. I have fed horses. I have shod horses. I have, you name it, I've probably done it. Except for any of the vet stuff. I mean, like, vet level stuff. When you come at a horse from I want to learn everything about you mindset, they're more than happy to teach you. And when we can de-ego and allow ourselves to learn from just an animal, they will let you in on the secrets. So that part of it is you're trying too hard. Stop trying so hard. It becomes way more fun when you stop trying so hard. When we try too hard, we block off certain aspects of our senses, and then we lose information. So get your soft eyes that just allow you to bring in all of the things, and then you can have that peace and that calm, and that's how you get, if you're looking at a calm herd, and your buddy's out there, and your buddy's nice and calm, and you go out into that herd and you just drop all the things and just absorb from them, and then you too become calm. And that's why horses are such a gift, because we get to have those things when we let it happen. But, okay, I hear you, it's hard in a lesson. Yes, it is. It's very hard in a lesson because you're trying to impress your trainer. You don't want your trainer thinking you're silly. You don't want to ask the silly questions. Ask the silly questions. Your trainer is waiting for you to ask the silly questions. Your trainer wants to talk to you about Ziz. Your trainer wants to share all of his or her really cool experiences that she's had with her horses throughout her time. You want to know why? Because we were all the crazy horse girl in school that everybody made fun of for only talking about horses. Give us an opportunity to talk about horses, and you won't get us to shut up. You will be late to your next appointment because we're going to follow you out to the car telling you stories. Trust me. It's a thing. So ask the silly question. I love the silly questions because they make me think. So ask her too. She's cool, and I like your trainer, Paula. I like her. She's a cool chick. So, the stuff about that is be easy on you when you can. The horses will let you in on all the secrets. And your trainer will tell you that too, I bet. She's on it. So, be easy. Go easy. It's easy. You're trying too hard. Stop trying so hard. That's what I tell everybody, because everybody starts off trying too hard. We don't want to be impressed. What impresses us is when you guys have that lovely, divine, angels singing moment when you get it. Because that's why we're trainers, to watch people get it and to get as excited as we are about the silliest of things. Like, oh my god, stall number 12, go look at that poop pile. It's pretty interesting. We like people to be excited. So your excited questions are always welcome. Always welcome. But for this one, what you are conveying back, I'm going to stress this one again. It doesn't matter. Your horse knows, the horse that you're working with knows you're confused because they know what their job is, and their job is to be a lesson horse, and they're more than happy to teach. And trainers, we know how to pick a lesson horse. And a lesson horse is not your average horse. They're very different, and they can help kind of pull you in. If you're open, if you're in that calm moment, the lesson horses, the good ones, will be able to be like, oh, I see your wand. Let me tell you something. Come here. And they'll tell you the secret. So when you can get to that spot where you're not overthinking and your brain isn't firing, because what's happening in your brain, the way you feel, your confusion, your frustration, and your horse is like, stop zizzing at me. Ugh. They don't want that either. So when you're calm and can woosah, that's when you can learn, and that's when you can feel off of your horse that you're working with what you need to know. Because they know what's happening. They know what you're supposed to be learning. I think they understand English quite well. And it's just a matter of you. So don't worry about what you're conveying, because your horse already has you pegged before you walked in the barn. As soon as the cart pulled in the driveway. Horses can tell the difference between somebody's attitude by how they pull in the driveway in a car. I've watched it. It's a thing. It's true. They know how we feel before we step foot in the barn. And a really sensitive horse who likes a person that they're dealing with, whether it's the trainer, the rider, the owner, the leaser, another lesson person, and they all recognize everybody, the vet, the farrier, everyone. They know how that person feels before they're even working on that horse or with that horse. Lots of stories about that too. So don't worry about what you're doing. It will start making sense. And I know specifically what you're asking about is squaring up and doing showmanship. So showmanship is it's a whole nother thing, and I'm already at 26 minutes. So we'll go into what you're doing later, but to help you in the most important part right now, your highest level of thing is you're focusing on the whole horse, because you don't have to. That other stuff will come once you can soften up and see the big picture and take in the big picture, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. So keep eyes on that. Be soft, take in all of the things, and then the thing that is important will pop up higher, and you'll like, oh, it will almost startle you as, oh, that feels weird, or that looks weird, or what just happened. And that's the hard thing, because the most coolest, most important part is the most subtle of things when it comes to horses. The coolest, most important thing is how subtle can you be. And the more subtle you can pick up on things, the deeper it's going to get. And it gets to a deep depth level that is really cool when you have the time with horses to get to that really cool, super deep, super subtle stuff. Maybe I'll do a video on cool horse stories too someday. But this is long enough. I am Stacy Sheely on Point Sport Horses. Subscribe, click the bell. We'll post up all kinds of cool stuff. And if you've got questions, ask them. Send them. I'm on Facebook. And that's about it for now, because that's all I can handle. One social media. Well, two. Kind of YouTube. But here we go. So, find me, Stacy Sheely, on Point Sport Horses. Subscribe, click the bell, ask your questions. Talk to you later. Thanks.